This alien is unscannable, and let me tell you how. After the Forever Knights violated every rule in the book of horror movies and opened 5,000-year-old seal, they let loose an odd species.
They all end up finding it in an alleyway, in the worst reverse police brutality case I've ever seen. His dash cam footage must be crazy.
But what happens before that is even crazier because the Forever Knight detect the interdimensional demon before Ben, and the Ultimatrix unusually doesn't even wake up to scan the thing. Chances are, Primus isn't compatible with creatures of hell. So I saw this tweet with Ben flirting with Atia as bullfrag, and then blaming his DNA for wanting that frogacy? Is he capping? I honestly don't think so. I definitely think transforming into the Giga Chad amphibian has definitely got him feeling jumpy about the Megan Fox of incursions. But there is a hidden factor, and that's because Ben comes from a lineage of alien-bagging Riz masters. So there is no Ben 10 for multiverses. But how do I know? The game is gonna have its final season drop pretty soon, and the last two characters are locked in already. They missed a chance to add one of the most popular long-running omnicentric franchises to the game, and to me, it's a fumble that's about as big as Eve eating that damn apple. I think the Omnitrix master would have definitely livened up the game. A lot. Heck, he was the reason I got it in the first place. But the revenue model they had was run by Mr. Krabs, so the game just died with no Tennyson in sight. Ben 10 has a chance in Fortnite. We got this news from the GOAT Duncan Rouleau, and he says, never say never. That's actually some serious great news, but what aliens and powers would he have? I would expect them to make a play off of the game over episode giving him mythic alien icons for players to receive that will make them transform. I would personally drop 4 aliens, which would be Humongosaur, Heat Blast, Diamond Head, and Jet Ray. These would be good representations for each series, but who would you pick? Did you know that Atomix was already in the classic series? Let me tell you how. In the episode Ken 10, when Kenny received his Omnitrix for the first time, he asked his father what his playlist was, and he gave us a huge name drop.
Ooh, Atomics, yeah.
Of course, it makes sense for Ben 10,000 to have access to the Emerald Radiation Man, but I wonder what his design was like in this alternate reality. I think mostly about the 5YL Atomix when it comes to this alternate reality. Maybe he was the one who even packed up Vilgax and blasted away Animo's body. How did Azimuth get the DNA of the celestial Sapiens when getting to the Forge of Creation is basically impossible? I shot him a message, so he should be answering any.
Young Galvan, must you be so inquisitive? Let me explain to these Earth viewers of yours. I was putting together the original DNA samples for the Omnitrix, of course, with great variety from all corners of the galaxy. But I was approached by Paradox with a sample during the final phase of DNA integration, that of a celestial sapien. It was a once-in-a-lifetime deal, so I took it and added it to the gene pool at Primus. These beings don't interfere with major events anyways, so I'm sure they wouldn't give their power out willy-nilly.
Wait, you stole Alien X?
In the game, Ben 10 Cosmic Destruction, you get to play as these 11 different aliens, but there is a way to unlock 2 more.
Access master control. These codes unlock the Tetramand and Apoplexian species respectively for different Earth consoles.
What?
There are also all of 5 ultimate aliens. Those are Humongosaur, Swampfire, Spider Monkey, Big Chill, and Echo Echo, and trust me, it gets juicier. You can play as a deranged Galvan.
Who is this festering YouTuber referring to as deranged? I am main character material, but only on the handheld double-screened console you Earthlings call a DS. Christ, I'm hungry.
How did Ben take off the Omnitrix between Classic and Alien Force? Most think it was that he just asked Azimuth to do it, but I don't think it was just that simple.
It totally wasn't to get to where me and the geriatric frog Einstein were chilling. Couldn't have been easy.
We also have to remember that the watch being bound to Ben's wrist also made forceful removal near impossible without extreme pain.
And since the watch had fused with his DNA for more than a year, it took a while.
Since Azimuth relocated after the events of Secret of the Omnitrix and went back to Galvan Prime, one can assume that Ben got the watch removed there in Azimuth's laboratory with use of codes. Can the Omnitrix tell time? I know most people think it can't, but there are a few aliens that can facilitate that function. Jury Rig could make a clock out of scraps and trash laying around.
Galvanic mechamorphs can simply merge with small clocks and create an internal display.
And Galvans can simply know by using the sun with positions relative to the horizon.
Honestly, my Omnitrix was made as an intergalactic interspecies passport. If you don't know the time, wear another watch.
Why isn't Wildvine in the Nematrix when these guys are big-time fleshy? eaters. Now, most of you must know that the Omnitrix itself gathers DNA with a main criteria being that the sample is from a non-sentient species. It then uses a non-sentient species in order to carry on said transformation. While these wild vines were indeed non-sentient predators, what I am led to believe is that most of them are actually sensible creatures.
The most reasonable conclusion is that these Floronas are a primitive ancestor of the wild vine that Ben Tennyson knows, and that is why they are non-sentient. Plus, with the hive-like living conditions, to collect a sample would be too dangerous.
How did Ben 10 Classic get close to Alien X? It's probing time. En route to stop a universe-ending threat, Team Tennyson ventured to the home of literal gods outside the universe. However, thick, foggy circumstances pull Classic Ben from 2006 into Ultimate Alien, where he outmatches the resident Osmotian and goes on a road trip to the Mount Olympus of the Omniverse, where he doesn't just meet one Alien X, but he comes close to all celestial sapiens.
The naive little snot rocket got his ass handed to him and missed out on the opportunity of a lifetime, which was to use his own Omnitrix to theoretically scan any celestial sapien through the prototype's contact scanning feature. Pretty sure Paradox couldn't undo that.
How did Cannonbolt go extinct? As you know, the spherical destructive lemon are Arburian palarotas that we saw first in the episode Big Tick, getting unlocked immediately after the world-eating giant creature descended to Earth. The worshippers dish out a history lesson and tells us that this Gigatic is a planet eater and just spent the past week munching on lemons. But how?
You idiot! This city block-sized globe gobbler does just that, landing on the planet and draining it of its nutrients completely, turning supple trees into withered twigs and fertile soil into musty ashes. That treatment would kill any basic non-Galvan species.
Why was Ben 10 rebooted? Here are the top 3 necessary reasons. Firstly, to revitalize the show and appeal to a brand new audience, it needed a fresh take on the art style and story, which feeds number 2 by lowering the age of the target demographic with less complex stories and art, giving them fresh new eyes who had never seen the show, and 3, the big green, as they could sell all new merchandise to the fan base stuff like a car for Heat Blast and another Omnitrix. But I think the reboot is a universe that exists right here in the show. Why does the Omnitrix time out? Now, I know most of you think that it's because the Omnitrix's battery runs out, but it's more complicated. In the race against time universe, it exists to protect Ben from DNA corruption due from being transformed too long. But my reasoning is that it's an option to curb the addiction.
With how much damn variety and sensation that the user should feel in alien form, it could become more addicting than a meth addict eating blue frosted flakes. And since we have seen Ben's addiction to feedback, the timeout keeps you grounded.
Why did Gwen's powers change? I know most of you think that they changed because she's an anodite, but you'd only be halfway correct. Initially, when Gwen had her powers bloom, she had a blue coloration to her spell casting, and in the far future, her powers were a bright yellow. But before we get to Alien Force, we have this where Gwen's magic has already turned pink. And yes, this is canon.
With the fact that Gwen Tennyson is also a prodigy in spell casting, and with females maturing much quicker than males, her mana control was bound to go through an accelerated metamorphosis, which is why it changed.
How old is Ben 10 in each series? Well, in the original series, the brunette daredevil is 10 years old for the entirety of the show. He retires the alien hero fighting gig and then comes back in Alien Force, which picks up 5 years later, so now he's 15, fighting hybrids and splashing his bodily fluids all over his enemies. In Ultimate Alien, his attack potency with a stolen Omnitrix is doubled, but he only grows to 16 years old, and when he gets a brand new Omnitrix, he's still just 16 years old. Hey, at least he can legally drive. Are Chromastone and Diamond Head the same species? Now, after everyone saw this happen, there has to be a connection, right? Let me explain. Both come from Petropia, the crystal planet, with the main inhabitants being Petropians, the turquoise quartz, manipulating rock-solid beings that have been wiped off the universe, leaving only one that isn't Diamond Head. While on the other hand, there is Chromastone, who is the sample of the singular crystals, Sapien named Sugalite, the Superman of Petropia.
Sugalite's relationship as protector is deep, as he not only fights for the green gemstone people, but holds the backup DNA file to resurrect their world.
Why did Kevin's powers change? Of course, Kevin couldn't continue absorbing alien DNA since it has driven him insane twice, so his method of powering up had to change. He started out simply absorbing and discharging electricity like static shock, but after the alien DNA addiction fiasco in Classic, he went to prison, and that's where his work began. He learned how to drop the alien mutated DNA and absorb non-organic matter. This didn't only stop him from going insane, but gave him variety in materials to use that scaled into having malleable fists that became weapons. What happens if the Omnitrix is destroyed? Now, I know everyone knows the destruction of the watch would take the universe with it. However, that's not the complete story. The Omnitrix self-destruct mode operates in two ways. We'll call them lento and allegro. For the lento, which means slow, is where it can build up a charge over a few days, which is further accelerated by every transformation that can blow up the universe.
That's about as dangerous as a cave diver's appetite for small holes. Allegro or fast can have the explosive charge build up rapidly, which almost blew off Uncle Vilgax's hand in Alien Force.
How does Ben Tennyson unlock new aliens? Of course, most of you should know that scanning a nearby alien unlocks its DNA as a transformation, but it's deeper than that. In Classic, the scanning function has been used to pull out alien samples that have already been hiding in the Omnitrix, like the Anor trio, which Azimuth already added.
And along with that, aliens can be unlocked by using a set of combinations on the Omnitrix, like what we have seen with Cannonbolt, Upchuck, Ditto, and Way Big. Subscribe, ya big dummy.
In the game Ben 10 Protector of Earth, you get to play as these 5 aliens, but only Masters can do the 3 things I'm gonna tell you about.
This game came out on October 30th, 2007, and Masters can gain access to the gourmand species with the use of codes to literally chew up and spit out enemies, or just nuke them with explosive vomit.
You also have cosmetic augments, where you can don your galactic enforcer fit and do the hero thing the right way, and you can tag in Gwen to join in on the combat and play her as your main character. Why can't Swampfire absorb fire? You see, Swampfire has an elite level of methane control, hence the Methanosian species name, which through methane combustion, he creates fire.
The Methanosian's natural ability to produce methane gas has also been co-evolved with heat production. Both combine to create carbon dioxide, steam, and energy, which becomes fire. Essentially, these big living vines have built-in natural flamethrowers.
However, absorbing fire like Heat Blast is very different. Heat Blast's heat absorption is through high-level manipulation of plasma. Using a plasma containment field, he could manipulate flames and theoretically remove the heat, which would absorb them instantly. What gender is Big Chill? Everyone must know that Ben Tennyson's Big Chill had a group of bouncing blue frost moth babies in the episode Save the Last Dance. When did he even mate? Well, he didn't mate, but in real life, there are 2 moths that can reproduce the same way Ben can.
The Dalika fenicella and the Alsophala pomateria are 2 earth moth species that don't need to reproduce through normal male and female mating like most other species. However, most earthbound creatures then can reproduce without mating are still gendered as females.
So it could mean that Ben's Big Chill is a female. However, with the fact that necrophrygians are aliens, I would say that reproduction could be like the seahorse, who have the males carry the offspring, or Big Chill is just genderless. Guess the Ben 10 alien in 60 seconds. Hint number 1. We have seen this alien used by every age of Ben Tennyson in the series. Hint number 2. This alien made a huge resurgence in Omniverse, which we saw get 3 different variations in designs. Hint number 3. This alien lost to Vilgax in a very important one-on-one battle and lead to Ben nearly dying. Hint number 4. Ben lost usage of this alien for a very long time, and it took him 1 year to ever use it again. Hint number 5. Ben 23 has this alien and has used it to fight off Eon. No little success. Hint number 6. This alien was a part of one of the most interesting alien fusions in the franchise. Hint number 7. This alien was used 30 times in the entire Ben 10 series. That's a lot. Hint number 8. This alien is rendered completely useless in water. Hint number 9. This alien went all put on the big tick and lost horribly, almost costing Ben his life. This alien is Stinkfly. Who are the abnormal heat blasts? We all know about the side effects of the common cold giving Pyronites ice flames, but do we know about these other 3 abnormal variants? Starting with Child Blast, the toddler version of a Pyronite with deadly flames from Don't Drink the Water. It melts rocks like butter butter. Siphon blasts the mangled Carnitrix fireman that is unlocked by accidental DNA splicing in the episode Outbreak. The only heat blast with crimson flames, and lastly, Heat Jaws, the worst fusion known to man, with heat so hot it fries fish. Will we ever see the Poultice Altair again? You see, the Poultice Altair is a power amplification device which was made by the ancient Galvans, which ended up in the hands of Ben Tennyson, who used it in his campaign in the game Cosmic Destruction.
After Ben's chronic overuse of this ancient piece of tech, it shattered and was rendered completely useless afterwards. But I would never remake it. It was an inefficient and not so ergonomic design, plus my newer functions added to the Omnitrix, like the Omni Kicks and Naught, just outclassed the functions of the old relic.
How does Albedo transform without an Omnitrix? You see, in the episode Double or Nothing, Albedo had set up a genetic alteration field that had the purpose to returning him to his gorgeous Galvan form. But things are never that simple, as the alien force trio end up creating more complications to his plans. He regains his Galvan form, and with extra gravy, he gave himself the ability to transform at will. However, here's the catch. Ultimatrix's DNA signature interfered with the alteration that instead of creating an artificial Omnitrix in Albedo's biology, it made him permanently revert to the Tennyson human form, which he later completely solves with this. Did you know that this old guy is better than Ben with the Ultimatrix? The alien force trio head to foreign lands to solve a big Transillian pest problem, and the old two-faced king opens the door for them to bury the Victorsicle. The gang get jumped by the Walmart Red Ribbon Army, and shit goes sideways even for the Red Mothman, leading to their capture. But the Elder had a plan, and that includes a tied-up Tennyson and him showing off his alien swapping prowess with the Ultimatrix. He cycles through to the amphibian, and that is where he does the first brain transplant in human history, getting himself a permanent Frankenstrike body. Top 5 rarest aliens in Ben 10. Can you guess number 1? Number 5, Cannonbolt. The spherical destructive lemon hails from the now destroyed planet of Aburia. He has the ability to slam opponents like a mother lover, and even took down planet-stopping ops. Number 4, Diamond Head. The turquoise crystal man isn't only a diamond farmer, but he is the second survivor of the destroyed Petropia. Only other guy being the badass Tetrax. Number 3, Chromastone. The literal planet guardian of the green crystal people. Chromastone has only ever had one other original sample, and that's Sugulite, which means there are only 2 in existence. Number 2, Alien X. This species has their domain, exist outside the natural universe, being nearly unreachable without the map of infinity. However, the number 1 alien is very rare, and only shows up in the most niche situations, having only appeared once, ever. Can you guess who it is? Comment below. Why did the Ultimatrix go from red to green? You must already know that after Ben Tennyson destroyed the original Omnitrix, he rushed over to the greatest cosplay ever to steal his watch, setting it to self-destruct so that he could hit a galactically priceless lick. And when he does, he says,
I like the old one better.
He immediately uses manual commands to change the Omnitrix icon to green, similarly to the way he was able to unlock Master Control as a kid, turning the dial can swap colors also. It's just like modern Earth LEDs on computers, the toggle is easy, and yes, we have more range than a rainbow in there.
Did you know that the Ultimatrix has a peanut weakness? You see, Ben loses the Ultimatrix to his plant doppelganger, and the photocopied Big Weed lifted the Ultimatrix from Ben as a result.
That idiot tried to challenge the living lawn, but he, of course, had an advantage on him and his Neanderthal friends, with God's gift to humanity on his wrist.
But Jimmy, the all-time big snitch, had the weakness for the plant boy and his watch, which was a fresh handful of nuts, which he decided to put on display, forcing the Weed back into base form, completely negating the Ultimatrix, which Ben took right back.